Wake of another deadly weekend, Chicago is getting a major boost now to try and curb the violence there. Illinois Capitol Bureau Chief Max Cotton is live in Springfield now to break down the $100 million investment. Max?
Well, hey, Daniel, and this investment, it actually comes at a precarious time because over that July 4th holiday weekend, the city of Chicago saw 109 people shot, 19 of whom were killed. Now, civic leaders are stepping up to the plate, pledging to invest $100 million in violence prevention. Now, at an event yesterday, Governor Pritzker said this past weekend's violence is a tragic reminder of why people are working so hard on violence prevention and also how much work there still is left to do. He says public safety is about more than law enforcement. It's about education, employment, human services, and mental health services. He adds, public safety is also key to having a vibrant city and state.
All of our priorities from healthcare to education to economic development, well, they're contingent on our success in the pursuit of public safety. Everything else is drawn from our ability to have public safety.
Pritzker also stressed the importance of continuing to fund these programs at a basic annual level, so that way people who are doing these jobs will be able to keep them instead of having to look for other work. Reporting live in Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.